I'm committed to asking all the questions you can't ask in church, even the ones that may seem silly, stupid, or crazy. Here goes. Are there two origin stories for the Law of Moses in Exodus? Everybody knows the Ten Commandments. However, before that, there's a narrative in Exodus 18 that's considered the appointment of the judges. But is it really something else? This is not a religious channel, but it's not a religious channel. The next day, Moses took his seat to serve as judge for the people, and they stood around him from morning till evening. When his father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he said, "What is this you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit as judge, while all these people stand around you from morning till evening?" Moses answered him, "Because the people come to me to seek God's will. Whenever they have a dispute, it is brought to me, and I decide between the parties, and inform them of God's decrees and instructions." I've said it before that I think the ancient Hebrews were literary hoarders who couldn't let go of multiple versions of the same story. If you didn't know the supernatural story about the stone tablets being given on Mount Sinai, this would suffice as a natural origin story for the laws that follow. It even seems to fit the oddly specific casuistic laws that follow, the ones with the if-then formula, such as how to apply an eye for an eye if a woman injures a man in a body part that women don't have. You could possibly even parse those from the theological apodictic laws or the thou shalt nots that seem to fit better with the supernatural origin story. But from what I can find, scholars don't seem to consider that these could be different versions of the same story in the same way that Genesis 1 and 2 are accepted as different creation narratives. It seems so obvious to me, however, that you'd think a lot of people would have at least asked this question already, but I don't even find so much as a discussion about it. If any scholars want to weigh in, I'd love your input. Another thing I'll point out here is that Exodus seems to have a lot in common with passages in Herodotus. In the History's Book 1, a judge who will become the founder of the Median Kingdom is called upon by everybody to settle their disputes, and then he quits in fatigue. But in his absence is a total collapse of law and order, similar to what Moses later encounters when he comes back down from Sinai after 40 days. As I've previously pointed out about the similarities to the Babylonica, what appears to be a Middle Eastern influence in the Torah could likely arrive there later by way of a Greek source. I think these books arrive in their present form much later than most people are willing to admit. Parts of the Mosaic Law may resemble older law codes like Hammurabi, but I think this is designed to simulate the appearance of antiquity, not authenticity. The template in Herodotus is how a confederation of villages becomes a kingdom under a unified law code. The case law in Exodus doesn't look like the product of wandering desert nomads. It describes village life with property lines and permanent dwellings. Later in Exodus 33, Moses asks God to show him his glory. This is similar to Herodotus in Book 2. Heracles wanted very much to see Zeus, and Zeus did not want to be seen by him. But finally, when Heracles prayed, Zeus contrived to show himself. It also bears an uncanny resemblance to the Bhagavad Gita, in which Arjuna asks Krishna to show him his true form. Furthermore, the story in Herodotus immediately follows a passage detailing sacred cows in Egypt, and the Mosaic narrative immediately follows the story of the golden calf after leaving Egypt. This seems to be a quadrilateral between Hebrew, Greek, Egyptian, and Hindu mythology. If we can isolate a natural origin story for the Mosaic laws from the supernatural, then is it possible to do to the Torah what Thomas Jefferson did to the Gospels? Try removing the supernatural from the story, and you'll see that it still makes sense without it. For instance, if you take out the burning bush, after Moses has a child in Exodus 2:22, he then tells his father-in-law he wants to return to his people in Egypt to see if they're still alive. There's no mention of his encounter with the burning bush, and the story still works without it. All the plagues of Egypt leading up to the death of the firstborn can be seen as a literalization of a metaphor in Exodus 4:23. When the Israelites get to the bitter waters of Marah, if you skip the miracle, then the text resolves the problem when they simply move to a new camp near water. Similarly, when they complain about not having food, omitting the miracle of manna leaves the problem resolved with the natural arrival of quail. It looks to me like the story is being embellished with supernatural elements, but they're actually unnecessary. Like Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark, these things don't really impact the plot in any way. I think if we can acknowledge multiple creation stories in Genesis, then maybe we could acknowledge multiple origin stories in Exodus. What do you think? I hope you found this informative, even if you don't agree with me. I'm not trying to get rich or famous. I'm just trying to start new discussions. It's not really a good way to reach a wider audience on YouTube because the algorithm rewards topics that are trending more than original ideas. I know I could probably get more views if I just made videos about the same topics as everybody else, but I'm trying to talk about the things that nobody else is talking about. I'd appreciate if anyone could point me in the right direction if something already exists about this. If you watched it to the end, please help me out by liking this video and subscribing if you want to see more like it.